Back again with Master Elodie, and we are exploring all things ascension. And we just had a little brief conversation before recording and just talking, just to tap into where we're at in this now moment. And both of us came to the conclusion that that we're different. And it's coming out in a weird way. Like I'll say it, I'll speak from my personal experience, especially since this last full moon. So I don't know if you've experienced this. I do know that as we ascend, we start to become more sensitive to all energy around us. And the lunar cycle definitely plays a role in our evolution as these energetic beings having a human experience. And this last full moon knocked me out. I slept for 18 hours straight. I couldn't even believe it myself. I when I was resting, my eyes would open because my mind was saying you need to go and do A, B, and C, but my eyelids started to get so heavy, and it was like I was in this cocoon or tomb. And it felt like a physical transformation that was occurring. So going back to starting this conversation, I do feel different, and it's not good or bad, but I'm still processing all the shifts that have happened. It really does feel like energetic upgrades. So I think it's important for viewers to understand what this means, and you can go and look on YouTube and or a podcast. There's a lot of wonderful spiritual teachers and channelers who will do DNA activations and different meditations and upgrades to attune you to these higher frequencies, because everything that is oneness, that is the universe, is encoded in your DNA. And as you start to raise in frequency, it's like these light switches turn on, and you just start to operate differently. So Elodie, I don't know how this is resonating with you, but I would love to have your perspective on this.
Yes. Hello. Yeah, no, I hear you in terms of and I was this two thing is like it's not the good or the bad, however we're feeling. And even in those moments when there's just one thing is to sleep it because the body is readjusting, and sometimes there's a sense of well, feeling bad about it because there's an idea of like you're not supposed to be sleeping, sometimes the
Right.
whole day or whatever. So that's
Yeah.
an important point when you say, but the body needs to adjust to those energies. So when we go in that transition, and sometimes there's that moment of discomfort of not really knowing what's happening, or I can sometimes, for me, it's expressed as I'm feeling well, I discombobulated. I can't remember what the word, but it's a funny word that
Oh,
like
discombobulated. Yes.
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 Um and it's really giving space for this to readjust. And I feel sometimes that's not being that's not being said enough, that it's not like you're gonna do all those practices and then the next day you just feel high and it's steady, and it's that integration. You can find it as well in practice like yoga. At the end of a practice, you relax, so and you really integrate. So taking that time to maybe just to ask the question, what is going on with me, who am I now, as well, because sometimes it just feels as well like, oh, I don't, it's even sometimes in taste as well. I don't like this anymore, or the people we have around, or So taking that time to acclimate and readjust, because it might just be a matter of few hours or few days of like everything around feels like, oh, it's not me anymore. And just the adjustment and yeah, filling in the space what resonates still or not, because sometimes that transition is either we're gonna just ignore it until the next transition, or really taking it fully and exploring as curious as like a baby taste, like this is nice, this is nice, or this person is this or that, and just go in exploration like this. I'm gone a bit in a tangent, but that's my feeling.
I love it. I totally resonate with that because that's exactly how I see the world now. It is like much like that inner child, that curiosity, and is this for me? Do I like this? Because you do get that choice. And a few things that came through: change, entanglement, and trust. Three very, very important parts of the ascension journey. And if I'm going to, when I think of change, it's interesting. I'm so happy you brought this up because it brought me back to something that came through for me since the last time we spoke. I was watching a documentary, a docuseries on Netflix about the evolution of life. And I found it fascinating. First of all, Morgan Freeman's the narrator, and his voice is just so captivating, and I love to listen to him and learn and absorb. But where I was really drawn to was this moment in the first episode before the meteorite hit the it was after the meteorite hit the planet, and you start to see life start to form again, and starting with you need water and the sun, and then how the particles and life starts to create. And then I'll jump forward to a scene or a clip in that episode where just explaining the plant family. And so you see this leaf, and then you see the larva starting to form, and how these caterpillars start to feed off of the leaves. And what does the leaf do? It starts to create this venomous fluid within its structure so that it stops or prevents the caterpillars to overtake and eat it. And then what does the caterpillar do? Like it just keeps evolving, right? That's evolution. And then flash forward, I started to think about humanity, and it started off with the most fit, the brawn, and then the brain comes in. And where are we now? Because we've been stuck for so long in this loop of power, control, and really it is the mental entrapment that we're in with these programs. And that is the future of humanity. If you really want to look at true power, it's going to be those who can evolve past that matrix reality and live within it, and raise frequency. Really is the advanced human, those who can shift their frequency and hold higher states of consciousness. And I'm going to say it again, this is one thing that is accessible to everyone, and it doesn't cost a thing. It just requires a devotion to self and a willingness to change and explore, because change is part of our natural evolution. Like it or hate it, it is what it is. So I have just been sitting in this, and why it's so important that we have these conversations, because this truly is our future. And it's important that we talk about change and trusting in our higher self, and that this physical reality is just one polar. The non-physical is very real as well. And starting to accept that things are changing. Frequency is everything. And when you embrace this, then and start to just focus on self, what do I like? What don't I like? Understand the world of energy, learn how to raise your frequency, find things that resonate with you. What is mine, what is yours. Honor the other person, send them love. Sometimes we need to detach from someone because they aren't seeing eye to eye, or they're holding a different frequency. Their journey is just going another way. And that is loving them. That is honoring them. And that is also loving yourself, knowing when to let go. So yeah, I'll let I'm pass over the baton.
Yes, and it's interesting around the word evolution. Often, you know, you were talking about the origins. Well, I don't know if that's what's the program you look at in with on Netflix, but I feel like often evolution is the big buzz, or it has to be hard, or there's a competition in it. When you were talking about nature and how naturally nature is organized
Exactly.
as got a natural evolution, like either the season or there is the natural in the species as well. Sometimes the younger one, they're not gonna survive, but there's a natural process. There's no effort in it. And I feel that in the form of human evolution, sometimes it's taking as it has to be a hard way. There's again this, you know, people have to compete, when sometimes just coming back to the simplicity of action, or really being fully present to each action, whether like really the simple basis, like you know, waking up or washing the dishes. And that's not new. I mean, it's like Zen masters are talking about those ones, you know, cut
Mhm.
the mood. Um and from that place, it really comes back to listening within. And from that as well, you're talking about frequency, but the frequency just activate themselves once we more focus on the inside of ourselves, our heart, and how as an individual we live each moment of our life. And it's interesting, like I was hearing individuation for me and this week, and I looked at the term and I wasn't not sure, and then there was spiritual individuation, and it felt like it was really coming back to that place of the connection with my thoughts within, and listening from that. When there's, as you said, this I mean, even more now, many information on all this. I mean, more than ever. And sometimes it's just, as far as I'm concerned, it's just too much, because it's coming as well from people who might not have lived it through really, in terms of in their body or their own evolution. And so it comes back to what you were saying. It's just a spitting word. It's just the mind. And yet there's a whole, as we started about, you know, having to sleep to integrate all those new energies. There's that part of the body that we need to look at and be present with, because it's gonna, there's so much information. Even when one is sick, it's actually the body saying something, speaking something that sometimes even the mind is not wanting to hear. So for me, is that evolution of like coming really inside and listening to the body and to the simplicity, because we have everything already here. if we just stop for a moment as well, when everything, I mean, I'm thinking also all the spiritual information which are out at the moment, it's almost sometimes it just becomes so much noise when someone is going to listen to it and forget that actually the main information is like we are all masters if we connect to that of our own heart intelligence. Everything is here if we just stop for a moment. And that's coming back to the term evolution. It's interesting how it's, you know, in terms of you're going to talk about evolve or evolve society. You know, I sometimes you think when how evolved are you if you just know how to Google something but not actually know how to apply it, when actually knowing how to survive from the basics, you know, and then some people are called not evolved because they know how to do that. And it's that balance of really looking at what nature can teach us, and then how as human we can meet with that and also with the greater. And it's just a beautiful union in all this quietness in a way. But I don't know if
I love it. So much was coming through as you're speaking, and you're right. It is a natural process, and our bodies are natural as well. It's no different than that leaf. And it's designed to thrive and survive. And the control, as you were saying, the resistance is just really coming from the mind and our whatever we're identifying in, and being able to let go of that. You just explained beautifully what is next in human evolution is being able to honor the body, listen to the heart, also listen to your intuition, and let it guide you. Let your body guide you, working as one outside of ego, identity, and all this external information that perhaps isn't in alignment with your highest self. And have the tools to always shift back into a vibration that you can hold in that now moment. And it does fluctuate. So you do need to honor that because it does go up and down, and there's nothing wrong with it. It is part of the journey. And there's a gift behind that. And that is where I'm being led to speak up, because I choose not to go into story of some of the painful, traumatic stuff that I have been through, because I don't want to feed energy into that. But I am so grateful for those experiences. It is exactly when they talk about your pain is your power. Like I'm completely lit up as I'm speaking about this, because it truly is your power. It's what has shown you how you truly do rise out of it, like this phoenix rising. And if it wasn't for those challenging times, I would not have perhaps evolved to where I am now. And I'm so grateful that I have gotten here. And now I'm in a place where, yeah, I'm different. It's like I'm this open channel and I can connect to everything so easily. And I'm really committed to this ascension journey. And how can I hold my vibration as high as I can and be able to do it just through the power of my mind and using my body, because I feel it is my responsibility and a duty to go into the concrete jungle, if you will, and shine as bright as I can, because that it's precisely in the shadow that the light is needed, and I want to shine my light because I've practiced in the darkness. I can hold it really, really high, and I want to be that light. I want to be that source of life force energy for those who can't see their way out. And I am going to hold them there because I believe in the potential of this, of humanity. And but they have to do it themselves. I can't do it for them. And I think that's what you said about, like, earlier about trusting your intuition and knowing when to, you can have all this information around, and all these leaders are going to start to come out and share all kinds of information, especially now because this is the great awakening, if you will, and to know that there is no right or wrong way, and just trust in where you are being led to go. And if it feels right, if you have that little nudge inside that say, okay, that speaks to me, then follow that breadcrumb.
Mm. Yeah, it's having the discernment as well, because there's practices which I didn't feel attracted to, or I didn't feel resonance to. And for other people, that was their way. And like you said, there's no right or wrong. But at some point, it's a bit like when the child, well, or grown up, is decided to step away from the parents, not as rejection, but just because they found a way for them to go out in the world and listen to their own to their own guidance, like you said. And with all the teachings out there, it's okay to have to follow or to listen to some, of course, and make it your own at some point. It's like a bit like what we talked about last time. It's those people who present themselves along the way to help, to show something. They're there to just light something in another person, for that person to reconnect with what their own message is. And that message might just be for themselves. It doesn't mean that they have to go out and share it with the world, but they might just share it with a neighbor, or even just for oneself, because, like you said, you want to help out everybody, and like you said as well, it's going to come from themselves. But each individual, each person, in their power and in their seat of queen or king, in their queendom and kingdom, then can do great things together. And there's no better or lesser. There might be someone who knows a little bit more, like, I don't know, learning in the kitchen. Some people might need a book for it, do a recipe. I like to just like go with my intuition. Okay, I've got this, and there'll never be the same meal because I don't really use the recipe.
You're an intuitive cook.
Yeah, and I said if I ever open, like a restaurant or something, it'll be like one meal and never the same again. But in
I
that
love
way,
that.
yeah, and in that way, life can be that as well.
Yes.
Just really taking it each time and listening to what can be created in that moment, whether with oneself and the greater self, or with others who also have their own ingredients to add to it.
I like that you brought this up, because when I say share, I'm actually not even speaking about words. And you just communicated that as well in your own way. It's through the energy we put out and the actions and intentions behind it. So shining your light in the middle of a concrete jungle isn't necessarily screaming off of the rooftop. This is how to do it. This is me, whatever. No. Can you be vibrant? Can you smile through your eyes? Can you just be in your most joyous, loving self in every now moment? Because and that's not necessarily being in the city. You could do it, for like you said, from your own home. At the end of the day, when we leave, I'm thinking of a parent who maybe had a hard time with finances and getting things together and wanting to provide for their child so that they can have all the same things as perhaps their peers. Again, we're tapping into that competitive thing. And that parent can work their butt off and burn themselves out and provide for this child and give them everything that they feel that they need in order to fit in and have everything in order to succeed. Or another scenario that we can explore is that another parent or same parent has a conversation with this child and says, listen, I would love to give you all that, and mom's working really, really hard at it, and this is what I can do, or these are your options, which one is more special to you, and have that conversation. Or the parent just can only give this because that's all it can give, but they have continuously provided a meal, whatever they could, worked hard, but that parent was always so positive and encouraging and loving. At the end of the day, when that parent passes, that is what that child's going to remember. My mom worked her butt off and she always had a smile for me. She was always loving and encouraging. I know she struggled, but she just always rose above it. And that is the message that will live on from generation to generation.
Mm. What I hear as well in what you're saying is the communication and the connection, which bridge two people, in that instance, the mother and the child, or the parent and the child, to come together to a solution if there is a situation, or it doesn't even have a problem. A solution is not just about a problem, but just come together and be able to embrace each other's vulnerability in that situation. And if that can be done between two people, how about doing it between 3 and 4 and a group of people, being able to share from their heart whatever they might wish or want to bring on the table, and then to realize oftentimes that one person might think, I've got nothing to give, I've got nothing to, I don't, or if we're thinking about money, I don't have the money to contribute. Yeah, but you might contribute in another way, or another person might have, and in that way of communicating, in seeing a situation together, and listening to each other and connecting from that place, then that's also shining your light, because it's just recognizing the gift in each individual in a situation and what can be brought to be created together. And yeah, sometimes it's just gonna create something even beyond what was thought in the first place, because one person with another or one person with few choose to connect and bring their own light to the table, whatever that light is. Because if we were talking about a meal as well, it's like someone might say, oh, you can do this with that, or everything. And in that ways, it's also the harmony, and it, like, I've got the image of equilibrium between, like, created in that moment, and each creation becomes the expression, like a miracle, but in the sense of, like, it's not special, it's just the energy put in together.
Yes. Solution-oriented mindsets, celebrating and honoring the other and all the gifts that they have to offer. A simple practice that I will honor my mom for. She is brilliant at this. So this is my chance to celebrate her. She's always blessed our food before we eat. So puts in all that love into our meal before we eat it. So really honoring the life that we are, that circle of life, but honoring everybody who comes to the household for that meal, and within the family, honoring every family member. So she plays this game when it's somebody's birthday. We do not exchange gifts in my family, in that physical gifts, but we always take the time when it's somebody's birthday to say something special, something that you love and admire about that person. And by the time it goes around to like the 12th person, it's that you could feel the energy in the room lift up. I cry every time. There's like, oh, here goes the end, because I just can't help myself, because I'm just so overwhelmed, especially now as I've raised in vibration. I'm even the energy is just so intense in me that it just comes pouring out. But it really, as you said, that kingdom, or that royal, it's like that lineage, it starts to really elevate that person or the soul, and you really see their high self come through. And it's just such a beautiful practice and such a beautiful gift. And I see this living on for generations and generations, and starting to just honor each and every one in their journey, and send them love and gratitude for them being their best selves. So this is an invitation that I would love to invite everyone to do, because it isn't about the stuff. It isn't about the gifts. It's about the little gifts that people give each and every day that maybe don't get overlooked, but don't get acknowledged enough, I would say. Because that's how we create that ripple effect and inspire people to keep going and to keep shining and to keep being their best selves in every now moment, because, oh, that person recognized me. I'm really good at this. I'm going to keep doing it.
The well, it's a beautiful practice first, like, that's why, because what I was seeing is like a cup being filled, but not in the sense of that person need their cup to be filled, but it's like receiving, and it's quite a beautiful image to see that person being poured love into their cup.
It's true. It's just so overwhelmingly beautiful to witness.
Yeah. And I mean, at the same time, it's like, I mean, in your family they used to, but some people, they can't receive even one compliment or anything. So in that moment, will it? How does that happen? Your family.
Well, because
It's established, I guess.
it's established, so it's just, yeah, there are some perhaps people that there's some resistance. We let people opt out if they want to, but everyone participates because essentially, as you said earlier, deep down we know this is good. So sometimes we have to push ourselves through it. And I love that you brought that up because that is an important receiving is something that is so important, especially for empaths. And we look at energy and energy harvesting and projections and how if it resonates, you take on a role. And then that's when I'm going into more dense energies right now because that's just what I'm feeling. But don't forget, projections can be very positive, like in the story of us honoring each other on our birthdays. So that is a positive projection. So this is where I want to invite the law of polarity in, and that there is no good or bad. It is both good and bad. And there has to be an agreement made. So if you agree that this projected energy is yours, and whether it be of a lower vibration or a higher vibration, that is an agreement that is made, and then you receive it. So it's important. And because we've been living in these lower vibrational energies and creating these stories and making people feel guilty or that their role in something, and then there's an agreement made, and then that's when the victimization comes in. Or on the higher side, it's just there can be resistance, but if you have the encouragement of a group saying, no, you are that thing, this is how we're going to push people out of it and start to be able to become more comfortable and more familiar with receiving these higher vibrational transfers of energy. The simple words, I love you. How many people have a hard time saying it? And like, let's be honest, a lot of people have a difficulty time saying it. Even my evolution in it. How many people have a hard time receiving it? And just recognizing, okay, where are you in that? Can you say it? Can you receive it? Can you do both? Is there resistance? Does it come from an authentic place? There's information in that. And this is part of the ascension journey as well, to start to explore what that is. Are you saying I love you just because you have to, or do you really love them? And do you really want love for another? Can you celebrate another? Like, I'm gonna get emotional because I want everyone to be happy and feel loved. To have a life without that is just it doesn't have to be that way. This is an energy that's accessible to everyone. And if I can hug and tickle and love as many people as I can, because that when you do that for another, that boomerang effect, it does come back tenfold. Yes, so maybe I am doing it a little bit selfishly because it makes me feel good. It makes me feel good to love another, to celebrate another. Yes, this next generation is going to evolve past me. And I say, yes, do it. Fly, baby girl. I'm envisioning my daughters. I want them to shine. I want you to shine. I want, this is the future. And really, when we do hold those high vibrations, the competition just dissolves. It's just not there anymore. And maybe that's where I'm at, and that's the energy that I'm holding. I just don't resonate in I don't get it at all. I understand it because I've explored that part of myself. And I recognized that I had to learn to, that's where self-worth comes in. And if you really want to live in an abundance and have a glow up and shine, it's really a reflection of your own self-worth. And so it's all interconnected. And so yes, it's wonderful to receive all these things from outside, and that's the co-creation, but you also need to fill your own cup.
Mm. Yeah, and it's interesting that the word encouragement came from, because the courage as well is the heart.
Oh, love
So
that.
there's,
Nice.
you know, when people think about courage as more, the courage is actually the word is heart.
Oh, thanks, Elodie. That is a powerful little share there. I love that. I love that. Okay, keep going. I want to receive.
Well, as you were speaking, I remember my morning as I was just in my practice. And in the past few days, you know, you were talking about letting go. I was aware of that. Sometimes I came up with the phrase saying, well, I free you, because there's a situation I realized I hadn't actually freed that situation. And in doing that, it was actually freeing myself at the same time. But from from a heart place, it was not like, oh, I want to free myself of the situation because blah blah blah. So in that way, it's smooth. It's momentum. It just flows. And this morning, the question, because I was revisiting a situation. Well, revisiting, it was coming because I didn't feel like I was actively going into the situation. It came up, and I'm just precising because sometimes as well, it's like being aware that when memories or situation come up to us, sometimes that they're ready to offer information and either be released or stay there for a little longer, whatever. But and in the awareness of whatever a person is going through, just, you know, sometimes there's memory way back and I'm like, what? And this is just having that awareness, oh, and asking why is that coming up, in the sense of like, what's information there for me in that moment. So regarding that situation, the question was like, was I a fool to love that person or offer my love and my heart and trust that person? And I could hear really that innocent voice, you know, was I a fool? And the answer was like, I wasn't a fool to be in my heart and love that person.
Never.
They were a fool not to want it. But again, not in judging them, but it's like, and in that moment for me, it was a completion happening as well, because it was coming back to that innocence of the heart, who, like you were saying, you want to love everybody. Not everybody's going to receive the love.
No.
And if the intention is not aligned, as in like you giving love because it's unbalanced, then that's not going to work either. But that's okay, can be a journey. But in that way of loving that person despite everything, I was really reconnecting to the origin of like, why was I ever really giving my love to that person? And ultimately there was a need for that person to have the love. But for me, I was coming from the place of like, I need to feel that need. And that's when it got wonky. And
Right.
yet the really like origin was the purity of the heart. And I could reconnect to that this morning. No, I wasn't a fool. And then
Never.
everything, you know, you were talking about entanglement, all this just dissolves. There's
It
no
dissolves.
attachment and there's no stories. It was what it was, and it's all okay if I can come back to that place of the heart and say, there's no foolishness in loving. There's no foolishness in listening to my heart and extending that to another or others. You know, it's not, I'm not talking romantic, but like there's
Mhm.
no foolishness
There
in
is no
that being
foolish.
in the openness of the heart and expressing.
Yes. Yes. And declaring it out loud is powerful. So yes, sometimes these subconscious energetic programs or stories surface, and it's time to either see it, read the information, and just releasing it just by declaring it. And see, like you said, seeing the information. I love that you said that, because you brought in the polarity of loving and how it works with the world around us and also with our own inner journey. And loving somebody doesn't necessarily mean you need to be entangled with them. And loving self is, I'm not going to say equally or more important, but it's a part of the process. And knowing your worth, because it's easier to see the worth in others, I feel, than to see the worth within self. And knowing what you deserve is part of that. So I can love you and release you, but I know what I am providing and giving, and then I deserve that back. And that is loving self, knowing your worth and expecting back, or putting out the intention to the universe that I want back what I am offering. And that is a beautiful, harmonious exchange of love between two individuals, regardless of how that relationship looks like in any partnership. And that's a harmonious partnership that has the potential to explore new heights, because when two become one, well, that's the
Two
ultimate.
full cups, yeah. Full cups coming together. Yeah.
That is the holy grail, baby.
Mm-hmm.
So, and recognizing those entanglements and knowing when you can release. And I think we should like explore that a little bit, because everyone is holding a vibration. And as you become more sensitive, you start to recognize, like, I think people know and recognize when you're around a certain person. Why do I always feel drained around that person? Or when I'm around this person, I always feel uplifted around that person. That is the home frequency that they're emitting into or projecting out into the world. And so, and then is yours in this? And the expression, tell me who your friends are, I'll tell you who you are, it is very true, because, and it's not that it's good or bad, it's just that you are making agreements, and you're agreeing on whatever belief systems, stories, whatever it is. That's just where you're at, but it doesn't mean that you can't change and shift. And so I keep seeing these bamboo shoots in my head. I'm trying to ask Spirit why, like, why am I seeing, you know, how like bamboo, like it's organic, it's life, and it wants to evolve, and it's going to keep, and it grows in these like linear. It's interesting because that's kind of how I see interdimensions, and within this matrix reality. So it's like these laneways, but it's organic, and how we start to grow in other directions, whether it be up or sideways. And but you're still moving forward. There's still growth, there's still change. And it's, where is it growing? Upwards towards the sun. So I mean, that's why Spirit showing this is just so beautiful as I'm witnessing this and how it's connecting. I'm seeing these energetic pathways, but I'm also seeing it in life form, and that, like, how brilliant it is. I'm having a hard time articulating what spirit's showing me right now, but it's just so cool to witness the evolution of life in both form and energy at the same time, and how it really is no different. It's just that one is seen in the physical form, and I, maybe it's because this portal is with the Lion's Gate, and it really is dissolving that veil of separation and how everything is interconnected. It's just so cool. I I wish I could put, I'm just gonna sit in this and let you speak, because I'm just receiving right now a lot of information.
Yeah, with what you describe as well, I'm hearing flexibility as it, like, there's not a bit what we were saying, there's not one path, and yet it just leads to the
That's it.
union, to, yeah, to the ascension, or but in that exploration as well. And when you were saying, about the people around us, or how sometimes it might not be obvious why we get around certain people unless we start to look at our own interiority as well, and what is in resonance with the external, was a situation or environment, people. and that's where, from the place of seeing, yeah, everything as information, or what's in there for me, what am I learning here from that, or what's being reminded to me, then in a way, every situation, like you were saying at the beginning, or every people, every environment is a gift, if we see what's in there in that moment. And it might be a fleeting moment, it might be a few months, it might be a few years, whatever it takes. But it's coming back to also there's no right or wrong if one chooses to be aware and conscious with whatever is presented, and was going to make the most of it, but that's not the right expression. Rather, to embrace it for whatever gift and gold and evolution is there for that person. That's what was coming. Was your bamboos?
Oh, I love it. I got carried away in your words. I'm just receiving. Thank you. And you are right that what you just brought through is dissolving the illusion of being stuck, because all you have to choose is life. If you can choose life, I choose me, I choose to live, I'm not giving up. Then a pathway presents itself, and you're feeding that life force energy within, and then that's when we can start to do these superhuman things. So right now I'm being brought to a movie that was just released on Disney Plus, and I highly recommend it to everyone. It's Women of the Sea, I believe. It's a true story about Gertrude, aka Trudy Elderly, and she was the first woman to swim across the English Channel, and we're talking almost 100 years ago. I am not going to say what happened because I want you to watch the story. It's so good. We think we have it hard now. Like, think about being a woman 100 years ago
Mm.
and just wanting to learn to swim and how challenging that was and how strong her mother had to be in order to help her have a freer future than perhaps she did, wanting more for her child, and how that life force energy and that love and desire then got passed along to that next generation. And what she did with that, I'm not going to say what transpired, but this woman, her life story is truly inspirational. And if you're looking for a tool that is powerful, is connect to a story or an inspiring person that achieved what seemed like unsurmountable goals, and hold on to that energy, because if that person can do it, then I can do it. And what was needed was a belief in self and a connection to purpose. And that woman knew that this just wasn't about her. It was so much bigger than her. But she kept, at least the actress in the story really did a great job of bringing it back to living in that now moment and just giving it her all in every now moment and never giving up. See, I'm getting emotional again. See, this is the new me. I'm so sensitive. Like, don't give up. This is the message I want to share with people. You need to believe in yourself. And if you can't, then connect to a story. That's a positive entanglement. Connect to a story that resonates with you, and ask yourself, would that person believe in me? Damn right they would.
Mm. Yeah, and as you mentioned that, I was just having the thought before that there isn't so many stories of people who survived, well, we can speak about horrors, but we can speak about like that woman who swam across the channel, and for that this is such a strong connection. I mean, whether that person would believe in you, there is something greater believing in you anyway, because you're alive right now, and there's really that current of life force holding you alive. There's your heart beating without you asking for it. Your body's
And
holding you.
yeah.
And I mean, again, saying like now we've got access to so many examples of people who've either lived through, really big trauma or been born with not the fullness of their body or something like that, and they are thriving.
Yes.
So there's, like you said, there's times when actually those people was a pioneer, and if they were women, I mean, that was even more complicated.
And
So in a way,
her challenges. Sorry, just to like when you talk about complications, sorry to interrupt, but I feel it's important
no,
because
that's fine.
I know it's going to lead to something. The complicated part was what we tapped into earlier. It was the resistance to change.
Mm-hmm.
What that victory meant, and how it could affect circles, and how it could change the course of our destiny. And so it's the change again. So that if people keep resisting this change, they're really only making, and again, that karma, the people who are really projecting and trying to sabotage because of the fear of change or whatever their story is, it ended up just boomerang it it boomeranged back to them. And are they bad? No. Again, they played a very key role in the story, in the journey, in the evolution. I honor the ops, if you will, because if it wasn't for that oppositional energy, then the victory wouldn't be so fantastic.
Mm.
They both serve a role. Again, there's no good or bad. So we need to honor both sides, because it's precisely that, just like the caterpillar and the leaf. If we didn't have one challenging the other, how would we get pushed into our greatness? Sorry, I'm gonna stop.
That's all right. Your enthusiasm is welcome. That is
I love
great.
you. I love you.
But I just wanted to say as well, it's like how one can see the resistance within oneself. So it's like there's the external of the person who wants to go against that woman who dares to swim across the channel. But but like for me, maybe this week or earlier, I was like, what is this? And touching on something that I haven't seen for a while, it was the fear of letting go. And in that moment of like seeing the resistance, is there can be a moment of like being with that part of having a chat. So what's the resistance, what it's about? So honoring that, like you were saying, honoring this man against the woman, and within ourselves, honoring the resistance to something, and with that, listening also to the information which come with it, because then it's bringing back to the harmony and the union within oneself. And from that place, I find it that it's easier than to move to the next step, which they might be a bit wobbly around it at first. And so, like you said, it's not right or wrong to see that resistance. Is what I'm going to do with it. If I'm going to, well, first be aware of it, acknowledge it, listen to it, if there is extra information for me to take the next step. And it's just that gentleness as well to bring, and that heart to bring to those moments when it's not moving, but it's not stuck. It's just something which wants to maybe be heard in that moment, and connecting to that light, to that source within, to our greatness, and maybe have a little writing or have a cup of tea with it, just have a tea with.
It's true. Those pauses are essential. And go back, that's the inner journey of, okay, how do I get in alignment? Having that solution oriented mindset. How can I shift this and move past this? And it is an inner journey, but it's not just about me, and it's about doing the right thing and bringing everything into balance. And sometimes that requires a perceived loss, if you will, but is it really a loss? No, because the energy you put out will come back to you, and it will balance itself out. Eventually, it always does, and things are always moving. And as you were speaking, it brought back into that place of trust again. When you let go of resistance and you move, we need to start becoming a little more, and trust is also releasing expectation, right? And just moving into flow. That is part of the ascension journey. And 100%, the outcome is so much greater than any expectation that you can put on there, because when you're just vibrating at these really, really high frequencies, living in alignment with your truth, and wanting the best for others, that is exactly what's going to start to reflect back at you. And what is the best? It's the best. And only your high self knows what that is. Only source can magically bring that forward to you. And start, if you're going to have any expectation, I would say hold on to just the best. Wish the best for others. Hold on to the expectation of the best, doing your best in every now moment. The best is the best and it can't be beaten. So if you're going to hold on to one, I choose the best, simply the best.
Yes. Now
Oh,
I hear where you are, and for some reason I was hearing grief, so I don't know if that's also, you know, something which can come for people, because it's that moment. It like change it can tap very much into survival as well. So it's
right.
honoring the moment of transition, if it's even if it's just in the mind or on a piece of paper, just saying goodbye to that to that thing that we might resist to change from, but honoring that, because for me I see it as well, it will be even greater to embrace the new, and it might just be that little bridge of it, you know. It's also like sometimes if you walking and there's a pebble in the water and you don't even know if you're going to reach it, taking that moment of breath and realigning and centering, and if that means feeling the emotions which might come up without the emotion taking over, but that honoring of whatever comes up, giving space to it, because then it just goes, and seeing that pebble, okay, I can go to that pebble, and I go on the next, and I go on the next, and in between there's the water flowing, and that might mean we're just like hesitating for a moment, but that's okay as well. It's like, because like you said, the what's on the other side will be greater, and yet the not knowing can be the greatest fear as well, of not pushing it through. But I find, like, for me, it's okay as long as I can have that awareness of being in the wobbly, because once that wobbly is gone, it's just like I'm fire as well. I'm off. There's no thinking back, or it's just the propulsion is even it's clean. It's the propulsion. It's just yeah, it's clean and it's clear, and it's I'm in. It's a full yes. It's a full yes.
Yeah, so it's interesting because as you're speaking, you described it so well about that wobbly, and it's like your foot are on two different floating islands, and you're on this lazy river still moving forward. So like there's no going backwards, I'm still moving forward, and I can either have one foot more in the fear of what's to come, resistance, am I ready to let go, have I, or I can choose to see it as, ooh, this is exciting. Where are we going? What's around the corner? So that is a perfect explanation of how we get to choose in every now moment what vibration we're holding. The change is inevitable. So am I going to resist and be fearful? I'm like, let's go. I'm diving full force because I know that with change comes transformation, and karma is just, for me, is our lessons and blessings. And it's just that mirror effect, that boomerang of whatever energy that we're projecting out into the world. And how do we let go? Well, for myself, forgiveness and gratitude. Simple as that. Ho'oponopono. It's and with everyone that is in that entanglement. And then you can let that go and step into the excitement of what is your next. So I'm grateful for that lesson. I've learned what I needed to learn. I am ready to step and cross over to the other side and start to receive dharma or this positive karma, because that is the energy that I'm putting out into this world. And now I understand how entanglements work and agreements work, and I am going to receive because that is my worth, and that is having that abundance mindset. So once you see both islands as what, then you can like, okay, I'm done with that. I can cross over and I'm just gonna start surfing now. So I'm such a visual person. That's how I describe things. So I'll hand it over.
Well, yeah, I'm visual as well, as you probably heard a few times. What was coming is like at some point it becomes natural as well. It's like after the different practice of the tools or whatever, you know, either whatever medicine one is going to choose to evolve or to remember or to just be in the greatness. It's like a natural process. It becomes part of everyday moment or situation which comes up. So it's in a way at some point it's not even deciding to go forward or deciding. We can be aware of that wobbly. There's something very much stronger which has our back in a way. It's there. And then if we well, I've experienced many of those moments, and it doesn't mean that there's times that I haven't got my doubts, but it's easier, and it's more like, yeah, I can recognize that, and I'm handing it over. I'm totally interest of God, divine, universe, however it's called, because that will carry me. And then those moments, I'm not even gonna understand how this happened because it just happened. And yeah.
I love it. I love it. That's exactly it. So that is the trusting process, holding on to that hope, recognizing that the fear and doubt is there. Okay, fear and doubt, I see you. But you know what? I've gotten through difficult things before. It always works out. It always works out in the end. This too shall pass. That just those affirmations just dissolve all that fear. Thank you, fear. You're teaching me again that if I just surrender and hold on to that hope, hold on to trusting in the universe who truly has our backs and is working for us, and that we are co-creating in every now moment, that is when we beat the matrix. We are hyper aware of how this existence is evolving, or this human experience is unfolding and being created in every now moment, and how we can actively participate to co-create within the laws of the universe a higher vibrational experience that has a ripple effect and truly does impact everyone around us. And at the end of the day, it goes back to what you said, love always wins. Love always wins. I believe in love with all my heart. So have the courage to love. And like Trudy's swimming coach would say, kick, 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 kick. Just keep kicking and don't give up. Trust, love, hope. That those are high vibrational energies that will not fail you.
Mm.
With that, do you have any last reflections, aha moments, something that stands out that you would like to end this call on?
No, just like it becomes a game if we allow it as well. Yeah.
Truly
Try
does.
to have some fun once we're here.
Yeah, I just passed that level. It's so true. I love it. Well, thank you, Elodie, again for having this conversation with me. And I hope that these messages reach, well, I know they will. They're going to reach all the right people in divine timing. And I thank you for taking this journey with me.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.